Trinidad Chambliss is named favorite for the Heisman Trophy by FanDuel, and well, haters, they're hating.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. We're proud to be a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one podcast network in all of America. That's all because of you watching shows like this. Thank you very much for that. On today's show, we're going to break down the linebackers that Ole Miss added through the transfer portal. The Rebels were looking to upgrade a unit that was good but not great. And on paper, they absolutely did. Next, we'll look at the linebacker room as a whole and the players that are returning. They might be pretty good and really talented, but they don't have a lot of experience right now as well. So we will talk about who did Ole Miss bring back and how do those returners blend with the portal additions. We'll dive into the fit, the roles, potential impact, all of that stuff. But first, the reaction has been loud after FanDuel named Trinidad Chambliss the betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. What does that mean? Well, it means that he is the top quarterback in the country for starters, but could sharing the spotlight with the top running back in the country kind of complicate this Heisman favorite's path? Potentially. We'll discuss all of that and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is, your team every day. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. It's vanilla cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon. So, whenever Trinidad got cleared a couple of weeks back, we told you it would take a little bit of time, but everybody would start catching up to the roster that Ole Miss was bringing back. And Georgia fans had a legendary crash out because of that. The LSU fans had a legendary crash out because of that. Even the Mississippi State fans, which is, it's kind of cute that they have a legendary crash out on that. But everybody was talking about how Trinidad Chambliss is going to break college football and all that. And you saw Matt Hayes from the USA Today just yesterday. We talked about an article he did about how Trinidad Chambliss getting cleared is going to clear the way for the SEC to break away, and they're going to do something completely evil or something like that. Everybody's been crashing out since Trinidad got his eligibility, is the point. Well, the schools that are playing Ole Miss are crashing out. And the question becomes, why are these haters hating so much on this athlete? Well, it came out on FanDuel once they did their update. The Heisman favorite, tied for the favorite at plus 800. That's 8-1 betting odds ahead of Arch Manning is Trinidad Chambliss to win the Heisman Trophy. I think he's tied with CJ Carr, but he's right there at the top as a favorite to win the Heisman, if not the favorite. So everybody knew that this was a possibility. This is what he showed during the playoffs when he had that unbelievable run. Everybody that played against Trinidad a year ago felt that he was disadvantaged about what was going on. Brooks Austin, the film guy on YouTube, did a video where he was looking through the worst statistical game of Trinidad Chambliss last season, and he picked South Carolina because he only threw for like 150 yards. Then he watched the film and he's like, this is pretty good tape. If this is the worst and he's putting tape like this out there, he's going to be all right. So everybody saw exactly what Trinidad Chambliss could bring to the table. A year ago, he threw for nearly 4,000 yards, 294 for 445, 3,037 yards, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, ran for about 500 yards as well, if you want to talk about him being a total offense monster. He's dominant. Ole Miss scored over 30 points in like 7 or 8 of their last 9 games or something like that. The one they didn't was against Miami, and they scored 27. And there was that weird pass interference call in the end zone where it could have went a completely different direction. The point is, Trinidad Chambliss had Ole Miss 19 seconds away from the national title game. And if he had a head coach at all, if they put any work into promoting him for the Heisman Trophy, he would have finished better than that 8th position. He would have probably been in New York a year ago. He had that type of a year, that type of an impact. He has a great story, and he's just fun to watch. Trinidad Chambliss leading this Ole Miss team is going to be fantastic, especially when the offense is not going to change a bit and weapons are available for Trinidad all over the place, including the best running back in the country. And everybody's like, whoa, the best running back in the country? Yeah, the best running back in the country. Kewan Lacy is in that backfield as well. He ran the ball 306 times a year ago, 1,567 yards, which exactly ties the school record, I do believe. And he had 24 touchdowns over the course of the year. The question becomes, is winning the Heisman Trophy more difficult for Trinidad Chambliss because that running back is in the backfield and there's a little bit of a split vote that could happen? Now, everybody remembers when Travis Hunter won his Heisman Trophy, even though it was kind of a gimmicky thing. He did have Shedeur Sanders going at the same time. So there was the split vote conversation that was having. But when you look at this one with how outside media, national media just tend to try to victimize Ole Miss. Ole Miss is their punching bag that they can go back to over and over and over again. If there's an overarching point that they want to make in some column, Ole Miss is the school that is going to get beaten on that one. It's just the way it is. It's been that way for 50, 60 years. It's because Ole Miss is a small to mid-market school, and you could get away because the fan base is relatively small. It's like picking on Vanderbilt. So that's the reason the national media does that. But Trinidad Chambliss being named as this Heisman favorite by FanDuel, and you're going to see stuff from DraftKings, is all going to mirror. You're going to have Trinidad in the top 3, however it plays out once all this settles. And everybody, once they get an idea on what the roster will look like, you will see the outside perception of Ole Miss as a football team this year start to go up as well. Because this is the sad truth when it comes to the national media and all the opinion makers and all that. They came up with their way too early top 25s on the Miami-Indiana night. Whenever that happened, the transfer portal was about to open up. And you remember everybody talking. It's like, oh, we're going to steal Trinidad. We're going to steal Kewan Lacy. We're going to take your whole roster. Almost lost 4 players to LSU. And no real irreplaceable starters. But before that Miami Ole Miss game, everybody kind of assumed when it opened up that it was kind of open for business. So everybody developed their idea of where teams would fall based off of that first impression. Once the dust all settled, Ole Miss didn't hardly lose anybody one way or another and retained a coach that had 2 playoff wins and a 3rd playoff game that they lost, which is tied for 3rd in the SEC. And you start to see all these weapons, and Ole Miss goes through the transfer portal and does an excellent job of plug-and-play type people. Power 4 level competition, Edwin Josephs, Jonel Aguero, Jay Crawford. They did a really good job of finding big-name players to go into the system. But by that point, the first impression had already been made. So everybody is going to take a little bit of time for the national media, those 30,000 feet flyover media, for them to change their attitude for what's going on. Because this roster is extremely talented. This roster is more talented than Ole Miss had last year. Probably not as talented as the 2024 roster, but it's close. You need William Eccles to have the Walter Nolan type campaign. You have a more explosive quarterback, and I can't believe I'm saying that over Jackson Dart. I was basically his hype man for 3 years. You have a running game that you can count on in Kewan Lacy, plus the people that came in. And wide receiver, you're always going to have some dudes. There's just 5 stars all over that field. 5 stars that were rated 4 or 5 different players on that offense had a 5-star rating at some point in their high school career. All of this has haters completely freaking out because they know what it means. They had a chance to beat Ole Miss because last year Ole Miss was good. They didn't really have a chance to do it last year. And it took a bad fourth quarter for Ole Miss just to lose to Georgia in their house. This Ole Miss team last year was a really special unit, and failure to notice that, it kind of points to an agenda as well. But this year, the talent has a chance to really get higher. Now, the schedule is going to be harder with 9 SEC games. You go to Texas, you play Georgia, you play LSU, you go to Oklahoma. You have some hard games that are coming up. Nobody's saying that's not the case, but the talent is there to kind of lift up that team, the Ole Miss team as well. So in our never-ending, seemingly, look at the 2026 roster, we're going with the linebackers today. And the Rebel linebacker room is loaded with potential, but can youth deliver? We talk about that and who returns next. Hey, have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab the conference title. And now you can pick cash, but you can also send it to the finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Your profit boost on an NBA future will get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
I'm Kewan Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. South Carolina rolled past Ole Miss 85-48 to clinch a share of the SEC regular season title and lock down the number 1 seed in the conference tournament. The Gamecocks extended their win streak over Ole Miss to 21 straight. UCLA dominated Wisconsin 80-60 to secure its first outright Big Ten regular season championship in program history. The Bruins improved to 27-1 overall and remain unbeaten in conference play. And number 12 TCU stormed back from a 13-point fourth quarter deficit to beat Iowa State 80-73. The Horned Frogs now sit alone atop the Big 12 standings and are 1 win away from clinching another regular season conference crown. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Hey, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it keeps all of this free. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the number 1 sports podcast in America. That is all because of you, and thank you for that. If you haven't already, go check out our Everydayer Club. Access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Ole Miss, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Everydayer Club Discord server. If you join that, I will send you an invite into the Locked On Ole Miss Discord server. It includes a group chat as well, just for listeners of the show, and it's pretty cool whenever you hang out in the Discord and you get the banner back and forth, and it's really, really good for a game. There's special all-access episodes that you can get. Corey Burton, Dalen Flowers, Mike Huseman, they are there as all-access contributors. So go to lockedonolemiss.supercast.com or tap the link to the show down in the show notes to learn more. All right, so one thing that's interesting, getting to the linebackers, and this was a position that Ole Miss needed transfer portal help. When you talk about going through the transfer portal on what was important, you needed transfer portal help. And we'll talk about the portal additions in the third segment. But the linebackers also, like Suntaran Perkins is listed as a linebacker. I'm counting him as an edge, but he plays that jack position. So him and Blake Purchase and stuff like that, they might be listed as linebackers, but we talked about them when it came to edges. Other than that, there are 3 linebackers that are returning that you probably need to know. First is Jarcoby Hobson, who came from Lake Cormorant. He is roughly the same size of Suntaran Perkins. He is an aggressive guy and an excellent athlete when he's playing the position. I expect him to make a jump. If there's any returner that I would be willing to say with the transfer portal is going to get on the field, it is likely going to be Jarcoby Hobson. Excellent, excellent football player. I want to see what the aggression looks like. I want to see how he handles SEC level offensive linemen whenever they get off blocks and things like that. I'm interested to see how he develops. He was a true freshman last year, so only some special teams work and things like that for Jarcoby Hobson, but he has a chance to have the big jump in year 2. I'm excited to see what he looks like. The next one is Bryson Walters. He went to Itawamba AHS. He was a tackling machine in high school. He was somebody that was named a late offer by Pete Golding a year ago, but he tore an ACL. And I don't know if he tore an ACL like in the last game of the season or in one of the all-star games or something like that, but he was basically out the entire season. He's about 240 pounds. He is somebody that you want to see grow into the position. Like in a not too distant future in the past, the starting linebackers this year, in my opinion, would have been Jarcoby Hobson and Bryson Walters. But because the transfer portal and because of what Ole Miss has, that isn't necessarily the case. And the last linebacker is Raymond Collins, who I thought he was out of eligibility going into this. And I started researching what was going on. It's like, holy cow, he's still on the roster. Raymond Collins and Cedric Beavers, those 2 Jones County guys, were starting to get a little bit of PT. Raymond Collins got hurt a year ago. He is somebody that I expect to at least push the guys that are in front of him. He is the Tyler Banks of this year's class. So when you look at this year's team, the Tyler Banks of that roster, he may not play an overly amount of snaps, but when he's out there, you can count on what he's doing, all of that stuff. Raymond Collins has a chance to be a really good player for Ole Miss. Now, 2 of the signees for Ole Miss did have a couple of high school signees. There's Ant Davis out of Georgia, a linebacker. He's a little bit undersized at like 190 pounds. I expect him to special teams or take a red shirt. I think this year you can play 9 games or something like that and still qualify for a red shirt. I expect Ant Davis to get a red shirt this season. He's going to be a really good football player, but it just feels like he needs a little bit of time in the weight room. The other one is Trey Ellis. He was an MAIS player out of Copiah County. I think it's Copiah Academy that he went to. And he is somebody that absolutely dominated that level of play. Whenever he played linebacker, it just looked like Mike Singletary was out there playing linebacker. But a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was playing MAIS ball. So sometimes it works. Sometimes you get a Cody Pruitt who played MAIS. Sometimes it doesn't. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens to his development. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the measurables that you are looking for. But as the NFL Combine, which is happening this week, will tell you that the measurables don't necessarily mean he's going to be a star player with whatever he's doing. He has to learn how to play the linebacker at the college level, at the SEC level. And you, instead of having to jump 10 levels to get from Mississippi high school to Ole Miss, MAIS, you're probably jumping 15 levels. Now, I understand there's some good schools playing MAIS ball in Mississippi, and some of them could actually beat the public school teams that they're going against. I severely doubt that Copiah Academy is one of those. But we'll see. Trey Ellis has all the measurables. He has the ability to get it done. He would not have gotten a scholarship offer otherwise. So that is worth at least remembering. But both of these linebackers, I expect to get red shirts, and you're going to see maybe on special teams from time to time, maybe the new red shirt rule will make it to where some can get on the field, but there's not the urgency that is necessary to play players right now coming out of high school. That just doesn't necessarily exist. All right, so Ole Miss needed some portal wins at linebacker, duh, right? Well, they may have gotten it in a pretty big way. All of that's coming up next. The biggest stretch of college basketball season is almost here. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, and those unforgettable moments that everybody's talking about the next day. Being there live for something like that, well, that's bucket list stuff. The hard part is actually getting tickets, long queues, price jumping around, and, of course, surprise fees at checkout. The Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. The seat view feature is a game changer. You can see a panoramic view from your exact seat before you buy. No stress, no guesswork, just smooth experience from start to finish. That is exactly what you want during the busiest part of the season. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5-Hour Energy Draft. I'm going with cherry. I like cherry. I like that flavor. I like everything about it. That is going to be my number one pick in the draft. I like the fact that whenever you like it, it's available in other stuff as well. So there's a familiarity, even though it's a flavor in an artificial drink. So that is who I'm drafting number one. The sleeper one would be grape. Grape is amazing and a standby when it comes to flavors around 5-Hour Energy, and berry's also very good as well. Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, Cotton Candy, a little bit too sweet for me, but I can see exactly how that would be a pickup that you wanted. So, like I said, I've tried grape, I've tried cherry, I've tried berry. All of those are great. The traditional flavors are my favorite at the moment. So they're still the top of the list. 5-Hour Energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. Find your favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. All right, so the transfer portal came and went, and everybody remembered the drama when it came to Luke Ferrelli at Ole Miss. That's the one that Dabo Swinney had his little crying fit over a little bit earlier in January. It's like, oh my gosh, they did mean things to us. Just get a guy to sign a contract immediately and don't just put that off, and you'll be fine. That's the way that works. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But the contract is the most important part, not the going to class part. But Luke Ferrelli, Defensive Rookie of the Year at Cal, who transferred to Clemson for about 3 days and then to Ole Miss. Luke Ferrelli is a really good linebacker. We talked about Brooks Austin a little bit earlier in the show. He did the thing to where he broke him down, and he is very twitchy. He's very heady. He's very well coached. He came from that Justin Wilcox system at Cal. Luke Ferrelli is going to be a big-time player for Ole Miss. And when you compare him to TJ Daugherty, Ole Miss upgraded on paper, period. It's not particularly close. Ole Miss also got Keaton Thomas. He's a linebacker out of Baylor. He is the Chris Paul, the Andrew Jones of this class, is somebody that's overly athletic, and he can disrupt an offensive team from the linebacker position. That's why Keaton Thomas got here. They think that he's like, hey, he's going to be the green dot. I don't know that he's going to be the green dot because of you want that guy to be see cat, hit cat in this football game, and you just kind of want to turn him loose. I think that Andrew Ferrelli or Taj Butler, the transfer portal that came in from Georgia Tech, that either one of those are going to be the green dot because you want Keaton Thomas to be the Keaton Thomas that you paid for. Taj Butler, tackling machine, came from Georgia Tech. He is somebody that's going to get on the field. Honestly, it might just be the name, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of Taj Chambers, except this one is from the Power 4 level as opposed to coming from the FCS level. So we'll see. Taj Butler is originally from New Orleans. He's a Frank Wilson guy. That's how that transfer happened. Luke Ferrelli and Keaton Thomas are the two players that I think are going to start out on the field together. Very good players, but I do not overlook Jarcoby Hobson. Do not overlook Raymond Collins. Do not overlook Bryson Walters. It would not surprise anybody if Bryson Walters gets on the field. He is the type of player that just does just that. Like I said, last year he would have, but he was recovering from a torn ACL as well. The two signees are very much different. Ant Davis was very much talked about during recruiting. Trey Ellis was not. Both of those guys got signed. We'll see exactly how they do as well. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're going to continue to talk about Ole Miss's roster over the course of this week. So make sure you subscribe and follow the show so you get all of the latest updates. We are on all of the social channels, so check us out as well. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, members-only Discord access, and more. Head to lockedonolemiss.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, check out a second listen, either Locked On College Football or Locked On SEC. Hotty toddy, everybody. Remember, spring practice coming up really close, and hopefully we can get the roster done by the time it starts. So I'm pretty fired up about that. Anyway, hotty toddy, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.